Okay, before we get started on the RS-280, I thought I'd give you a little tour of the Anders Electronics, also known as Mad Scientist Lair measurement platform. It's a bread rack with a giant headlight on the top, a server, some various networking equipment that I should probably hook up one of these days, some cleaning supplies. I got deoxit F5, deoxit D5, flux remover, and good old isopropyl alcohol. The miscellaneous parts, a piggy bank, yeah. Whatever. Let's get to the meaty stuff of this shop here. I've got the Heathkit IT12 signal tracer. This is tube type. I recently rebuilt it. The reason a tube type signal tracer is nice is because they're just nigh on indestructible. Ditto for a tube type multimeter. You never know when you're going to need an analog movement multimeter, and the nice thing about this one is it has a tube as its input, which gives an input impedance of 11 megohms, and it's virtually indestructible. You just can't kill it. Well, unless you go over 4,000 volts. Got an LCD monitor hooked up to my scope. Got an old beater of a multimeter here, a Fluke 45, that I got at a Hamfest at a really cheap price because somebody had gotten a soldering iron too close to it. But the multimeter underneath it is actually my pride and joy, and pretty much the soul of the shop. This is a source measurement unit. It happens to also be a really nice 6.5 digit multimeter, but that's not why I bought it. I bought it because it contains a function generator and a distortion analyzer all in one box. This is how I test the distortion of your amplifiers. I've got a reference amp package here. This runs the shop sound system normally, and it's also just a reference because these are really high quality components. I've got audio timer, which I don't use much anymore except for a clock. In my late teenage years, I became an extremely light sleeper, and that hasn't changed. It's been about 12 years since that abrupt change happened. Now this guy, just the relay will wake me up. I've got a SU8055. This is a biamp setup powering these Polks over here on the desk. 8055 for the high frequency, and an 8077 for the low frequency. Both of those have been rebuilt. Take a look. They're nice and clean. Really, really pretty amps. I am looking for an 8099. If anybody has an 8099 with a front panel in good shape, I will buy it. Hit me up on YouTube. Just send me a PM, whatever. I want one. Got some inventory here. Got a few parts here for various things, and my Raspberry. Got some inventory for sale here. All of this has been restored. That monitor is not for sale. That's my test monitor. My scope is a TDS744A. I've got a Sirius beater multimeter here from Rat Shack. And there's another X-Tech floating around here. Both of them are just regular handheld multimeters, nothing special. And then there's that. This is just a utility preamp for testing power amplifiers. That's it. That's all I use to make everything work here. Now at home I've also got a 2-channel HP scope. I didn't bring that with me. It's just really too unwieldy. And I've already got 4 channels at 500 megahertz with 2 gigasamples a second. That's all the scope I need right now. As my professor said, that's a lot of scope for an undergrad. I would agree. I haven't even touched the surface of its capabilities, except for the InstaView, which is really nice for finding glitches. But yeah, a reference stereo, 2 multimeters with one with a distortion analyzer in it, an LCD monitor, an analog multimeter, a preamp, a signal tracer, and a scope. That's it. And of course a couple of handheld multimeters and a bunch of cables to link everything up, and a bunch of lights. And of course a cat calendar. You gotta have the cat calendar. So yeah, that's Anders Electronics. All on a bread rack and a computer desk. No joke. A whole complete stereo shop crammed into a college kid's bedroom. Buy my stuff. Help me pay rent.